Before borders were drawn, before history decided whose names would be remembered, there was a woman born into a land that was already being taken from her. She did not ask for legend. She did not leave behind written words, but the land remembers her, and so does the wind. The northern plains stretched endlessly beneath a sky that seemed alive. Tall grass rolled in waves as the wind passed through it, carrying the quiet weight of centuries. There were no fences here yet, no carved lines claiming ownership, only land, open and breathing, responding to seasons older than memory. Buffalo once moved across this earth like living rivers, their hooves shaking the ground, their presence shaping everything that followed. Rivers cut gentle paths through the land, answering to no border, no law, but nature itself. This was not wilderness. This was home. It was into this world that Buffalo Calf Road Woman was born, a world already beginning to disappear, even as it still appeared whole. The land did not yet know it was being measured, divided, renamed, but the wind did, and the people who lived with the land felt it too, long before words existed to explain it. No document recorded her birth. No ink preserved the day she first opened her eyes. Buffalo Calf Road Woman entered history not through paper, but through memory, carried by voices that understood how fragile truth could be. She was born among the Cheyenne in the mid-1800s, where life followed the rhythm of the land rather than the ticking of time. Days were shaped by light and weather, nights by fire and story. As a child, she learned not through instruction but observation. She listened to elders speak by firelight, their words carrying lessons shaped by survival. She watched women work with quiet strength, preparing food, moving camps, caring for children without complaint. She ran with other children near rivers that still ran free, unaware that such freedom could vanish. This was a childhood shaped by closeness to land, to people, to purpose. And yet, even in these early years, change pressed quietly at the edges. The plains were never empty. Lakota, Arapaho, Crow, Pawnee, many nations moved across this land, sometimes as allies, sometimes as rivals. Conflict existed, but so did understanding. Trade routes crossed paths, ceremonies honored shared rhythms. Balance was not an idea, it was survival. The land was sacred, not owned. Animals were taken with respect. Seasons were followed, not fought. Every choice carried consequence, and that awareness shaped daily life. Buffalo Calf Road Woman grew up absorbing this balance without needing it explained. She learned that strength did not always announce itself, that respect mattered more than dominance, that survival depended on listening to elders, to land, to silence itself. But balance is fragile, and it breaks quietly before it breaks loudly. The change arrived without ceremony. Covered wagons appeared on the horizon, small at first, then unending. Soldiers followed, building forts near rivers that had once belonged to no one. Traders brought rifles, alcohol, and promises that faded faster than they were spoken. Worst of all, the buffalo began to disappear. Gunshots echoed across the plains, skins were taken, bodies were left behind. What had once felt endless suddenly felt finite. Hunger followed close behind, pressing itself into daily thought. Buffalo Calf Road Woman did not understand all of this at once, but she felt it, in the way adults spoke more quietly, in the way counsels lasted longer, in the way the horizon no longer felt safe. The land was changing, and so were the people living upon it. She heard worry before she understood words. Elders gathered more often, scouts rode farther, fires burned longer into the night. Treaties were spoken of, written far away by men who had never walked this land, never followed its seasons, never depended on it for life. Childhood ended early on the plains. Buffalo Calf Road woman learned restraint before comfort, awareness before innocence. She learned how to listen when adults fell silent, how to recognize fear even when it was hidden behind calm voices. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe, because these are the voices history erased first. This was not a childhood defined by play alone. It was one shaped by preparation. Among the Cheyenne, strength did not seek attention. Women carried the weight of survival. They moved camps when danger approached. They prepared food when supplies were scarce. They raised children in uncertainty and fear without allowing either to define them. There were no speeches, no rewards, only endurance. Buffalo Calf Road woman learned this strength early. She learned how to ride for long distances, how to work through hunger, how not to break when the world narrowed around her. This quiet resilience shaped her more than any battle ever would. By the 1860s, she was no longer a child. She married a Cheyenne man known as Black Coyote and became a mother. For a brief moment, life felt almost steady. Shared meals, fire camp nights, the fragile hope that stability might return. But history does not pause for hope. The land tightened, promises broke, pressure grew heavier with each passing season, and Buffalo Calf Road woman's life began moving toward a path she did not choose, but would not run from. The girl born into open plains was becoming a woman shaped by resistance. The buffalo were vanishing, the treaties were unraveling, and the land that raised her was about to demand everything. By the early 1870s, peace existed mostly on paper. Far from the plains, inside buildings of stone and ink, officials spoke of treaties as if words alone could calm hunger and ambition. Maps were unfolded, borders were drawn. Promises were signed by hands that had never felt prairie wind or winter cold. On the plains, those promises unraveled daily. Miners crossed into protected lands without consequence. Rail lines pushed forward. Soldiers followed, not to stop the invasion, but to secure it. Each broken agreement chipped away at trust that had already been stretched thin. Buffalo Calf Road woman lived inside the consequences of these distant decisions. She did not see the papers, she felt them, in tighter movements, in watched horizons, in the growing sense that the land itself was shrinking around her people. What was written far away was enforced up close. The buffalo herds collapsed faster than anyone had imagined. Commercial hunters killed by the thousands, not for survival, but for profit and policy. Skins were stripped, bodies were left to rot. The slaughter was encouraged because starving a people was easier than fighting them. With the buffalo went food, with food went certainty. In Cheyenne camps, meals grew smaller, winter preparations felt insufficient. Mothers measured survival day by day, cutting portions, stretching what little remained. Children grew quieter faster than they should have. Buffalo Calf Road woman felt the fear not in speeches, but in weight, the weight of her children growing lighter in her arms, the weight of knowing tomorrow offered no guarantee. Hunger became a presence, silent, constant, unforgiving. Daily life continued because it had to. Buffalo Calf Road woman prepared what food she could find. She packed and unpacked camp again and again as movement became survival. She calmed her children when fear crept too close, even when she carried that same fear inside her chest. Ordinary tasks now carried extraordinary weight. She was no longer thinking only of herself. Every decision was measured against the lives that depended on her. When to move, when to stay, when to risk, when to endure. The world had narrowed, but her resolve deepened. Motherhood in this time was not gentle. It was defiant. Then came the order. Native bands were told to return to reservations immediately. On paper, it was called peace. In reality, it was confinement. The land offered was poor, supplies were unreliable, disease spread easily, dependency replaced freedom. To obey meant slow death. To refuse meant being declared hostile. There was no true choice. Councils gathered once more. Firelight reflected off serious faces. Every word was weighed carefully, knowing each path led through danger. Elders spoke of survival, not pride, of children, not victory. Buffalo Calf Road woman listened in silence, understanding the cost hidden behind every option. This was not negotiation. It was surrender being disguised as order. Across the plains, something rare began to happen. Instead of scattering, the tribes gathered. Lakota, Northern Cheyenne, Arapaho, families moved together, forming camps larger than any seen in years. Old rivalries were set aside. Unity became protection. Numbers became defense. This gathering was not about war, it was about survival. Buffalo Calf Road woman rode with her people, carrying children, belongings, and memory. She felt the strength of community returning, fragile but real. If this moment matters to you, subscribe, because this is where resistance quietly begins. Standing together did not erase fear, but it replaced isolation with purpose. While the camps grew, so did the response. Far away, plans were already being made. Columns of soldiers advanced from different directions. Maps were marked. Orders were issued. The strategy was clear: surround the tribes, force surrender, end resistance completely. The army believed time was on its side. Scouts returned with urgent news. Soldiers were closer than ever. Their movements were deliberate, relentless. Each report tightened the air around the camps. Buffalo Calf Road woman felt the approach not through numbers, but through tension. The way conversations stopped mid-sentence, the way horses shifted restlessly at night. The storm was no longer distant. By the winter of 1875 through 1876, the truth could no longer be avoided. There would be no more retreat, no more hoping treaties would hold. Too much had been taken, too much endured. The people had gathered too closely, lost too deeply, and waited too long. If war was coming, it would be faced together. Buffalo Calf Road woman felt the shift within herself, the moment when fear hardened into resolve. Running had not saved them. Obedience had not saved them. Only standing remained. The army was advancing. The camps were gathered, and the first clash was no longer a question of if, but when. Morning arrived gently at Rosebud Creek, almost deceptively so. The land lay open beneath a pale sky, the water curving quietly through grass still heavy with dew. Birds moved along the banks. Horses shifted and breathed, unsettled in ways their riders did not yet name. The air felt suspended, as if the land itself was holding something back. This place did not feel like a battlefield. It felt like a pause. On June 17, 1876, two forces moved toward one another without fully understanding what the day would demand. One came with uniforms, orders, and belief in control. The other came carrying families, memory, and the simple determination to remain free. Buffalo Calf Road woman was there with her people, moving through the morning with the same quiet awareness she had learned over years of uncertainty. She could not know that this calm would soon fracture, or that the path ahead would change her life forever. The silence did not break slowly. It shattered. Gunfire cracked across the hills without warning, sharp and final. Smoke rose almost immediately, drifting low, clarifying nothing and obscuring everything. Soldiers advanced in formation, believing discipline alone would carry the day. They were wrong. Warriors rode out to meet them, fast and deliberate, using the land they knew intimately. Dust exploded beneath hooves. The sound of gunfire echoed unevenly across the hills. Shouts rose and disappeared into chaos. This was no planned battlefield. Families were nearby. Children were not far from the fighting. There was no clear line between safety and danger, only motion and reaction. Buffalo Calf Road Woman felt the world tighten around her as the sounds of battle overtook the quiet morning. Fear surged, but it did not stop her. It sharpened her awareness. Then disaster struck close. In the blur of movement and noise, her brother, a Cheyenne warrior, was hit. His horse stumbled violently, collapsing beneath him. He was thrown hard onto open ground, exposed and vulnerable as gunfire tore through the air. To remain where he lay meant death. Others saw him fall. Some turned away, believing the moment already lost. The battlefield was unforgiving, and choices had to be made in seconds. Buffalo Calf Road Woman saw only one thing. Her brother was still alive. There was no debate inside her, no hesitation. The calculation was instant and absolute. She would reach him, or she would fall with him. She rode straight into danger. Gunfire cut the air as she pushed her horse forward, weaving through smoke and dust toward the fallen figure on the ground. The chaos did not slow her. Fear did not stop her. In that moment, everything narrowed to a single purpose. She reached her brother, lifted him with a strength drawn from desperation, and pulled him onto her horse. Bullets struck the earth nearby. The battlefield offered no mercy. She turned and rode back through the storm she had entered. Warriors saw her ride. They felt it immediately, not as spectacle, but as resolve made visible. Exhaustion lifted, momentum shifted. What had been chaos began to move with purpose. If this moment grips you, subscribe, because history rarely tells you when courage looks like this. This was not legend. It was instinct, survival, and love colliding at full speed. Something changed after that ride. Warriors pressed harder, riding with renewed force. Soldiers faltered, their formations breaking under pressure they had not expected. The terrain, once seen as neutral ground, now worked against them. The fighting stretched on for hours beneath a rising sun. Dust coated faces and lungs alike. Smoke blurred friend and foe. Gradually, painfully, the soldiers lost ground. General Crook was forced to pull his men back. The Rosebud did not belong to the soldiers that day. Among the Cheyenne, the battle earned a different name, the place where the woman saved her brother. When the gunfire finally faded, the land felt unnaturally still. Wounded were gathered carefully. The dead were mourned quietly. Horses wandered riderless, unsure of what came next. Smoke drifted upward and dissolved into the open sky. Buffalo Calf Road Woman returned to her children, her hands trembling from exhaustion, her body carrying the weight of what had just occurred. She did not speak of what she had done. She did not seek acknowledgement. Among her people, no explanation was needed. Her name began to travel, not loudly, but with respect. The victory at Rosebud carried consequences far beyond the creek. Crook's retreat delayed his advance. That delay left another column unsupported, another column moving toward a river called the Little Bighorn. Paths that had once been separate now converged toward a single moment. Buffalo Calf Road Woman did not know it yet, but her ride had already altered what was to come. Rosebud was not an ending, it was a threshold. The soldiers had been turned back, but they were not finished. The land opened gently along the bends of the Little Bighorn River as if it had been waiting. Cottonwood trees lined the banks, their leaves whispering in the summer wind. The river moved slowly, steady and patient, reflecting the sky above it. When the people arrived, the valley did not resist them, it welcomed them. Lodges rose one by one, then by the hundreds, circles formed within circles. Smoke lifted into the air in thin, peaceful columns. Horses grazed freely, their numbers stretching across the land like a living tide. This was not a hidden camp. This was not a gathering born of fear. This was a village. Buffalo Calf Road Woman rode into the valley with her people, her children close beside her. After years of constant movement, the sight felt unreal, like stepping into a memory of the world as it once had been. For the first time in a long while, the land felt wide again. Inside the encampment, life moved with a rhythm that felt almost forgotten. Women prepared food, their movements practiced and calm. Children ran between lodges, laughter echoing across the valley. Horses shifted lazily near the riverbanks. At night, songs drifted through the air, accompanied by drums that spoke softly beneath the stars. For a brief moment, it felt as though the old world had returned. Buffalo Calf Road Woman moved quietly through the camp, grounded by routine. She watched her children laugh and play, aware of how rare that sound had become. She allowed herself to feel something close to peace, not because danger was gone, but because life was still being lived. She did not mistake calm for safety, but she allowed herself to breathe. Even in this moment of gathering, watchfulness never left. Scouts rode in and out of the valley, their horses dust-covered and restless. Each return brought quiet conversations, heads leaned together, voices lowered. The soldiers were near. Everyone understood that much. But fear did not rule the camp. Readiness did. Buffalo Calf Road Woman listened without speaking. She had learned long ago that danger announced itself softly before it arrived loudly. The stillness of the valley felt weighted, not fragile, but alert. This was a people prepared to defend life, not to abandon it. Among the Lakota, Sitting Bull prepared for ceremony. For days he danced and fasted, offering his own flesh for the survival of his people. His suffering was not spectacle, it was responsibility. When his vision came, it spread quickly through the camp. He saw soldiers falling into the village like grasshoppers, defeated. The vision did not promise an easy victory. It promised resistance would not break. Crazy Horse moved quietly among the warriors, speaking little. His presence carried discipline and calm. He did not stir excitement, he steadied it. Buffalo Calf Road Woman watched these moments with understanding. She knew that strength took many forms: vision, discipline, endurance. All of them were present in the valley. The night before the battle arrived without announcement. Fires burned low, the river reflected the stars, families settled into sleep. Somewhere, laughter faded into quiet. The valley felt almost protective, wrapped in darkness and calm. Buffalo Calf Road Woman lay beside her children, listening to the sounds of life around her. Horses shifting, wind in leaves, distant voices. She may have thought of Rosebud, of how quickly peace could vanish. Beyond the hills, unseen and uninvited, soldiers were already moving. History was approaching quietly. At dawn, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer advanced. He rode with confidence sharpened by ambition. He believed speed would bring victory. He believed surprise would scatter resistance. He believed the village smaller than it was. He believed wrong. Ignoring warnings, he split his command, sending men in different directions. The 7th Cavalry moved quickly, riding toward the valley without fully understanding what waited there. Custer saw opportunity. The valley saw him coming. As the sun rose higher, the Little Bighorn seemed to pause. The river continued its course, unaware of the name it would soon carry across the world. The valley, filled with life, waited, steady and unyielding. Buffalo Calf Road Woman rose with the morning, unaware that by nightfall the world would never speak of this place the same way again. The valley held its breath. The soldiers were closer than anyone realized. The valley was full of life and about to be torn apart. The first warning did not come as a shout. It came through the ground. A distant tremor moved across the valley, subtle at first, then unmistakable. Hooves, many of them. Dust began to rise along the ridges, thin lines against the sky that grew thicker by the second. Scouts rode hard toward the encampment, their urgency clear before a single word was spoken. The Little Bighorn shifted instantly. Women called out for children, fires were kicked out, horses were loosed. Warriors moved with speed shaped by experience, mounting bareback, weapons already in hand. This was not panic. This was instinct sharpened by years of being hunted. Buffalo Calf Road Woman gathered her children and placed them where safety might still exist. Her movements were calm, precise. She had learned that fear wasted time. When she turned back toward the rising noise, it was with the understanding that history does not arrive politely. It arrives all at once. Major Marcus Reno struck first. His men charged into the southern edge of the encampment, firing into lodges, tearing through a place built for living, not war. Smoke erupted, horses screamed. For a brief moment, confusion rippled through the camp. Then resistance answered. Warriors surged forward from every direction, riding fast, closing distance with frightening speed. Arrows and gunfire cut through the air. The terrain swallowed formations. What Reno believed would be a decisive strike unraveled almost immediately. The village did not collapse. It fought back. Buffalo Calf Road Woman rode amid the chaos, the line between home and battlefield erased completely. The world narrowed to motion, sound, and survival. There was no time for thought, only action. As Reno's attack faltered, a dangerous truth became clear. Custer was not there. He had pushed north with the rest of his command, splitting his force in pursuit of speed and glory. He believed the village would scatter. He believed resistance would fracture under pressure. He had underestimated everything. Warriors recognized the mistake immediately. Like water changing direction, the momentum of the fight shifted. Riders peeled away from the southern battle, flowing toward the northern ridges where Custer's men were moving blindly forward. Buffalo Calf Road Woman felt the pull of that shift, the sense that something larger than any single fight was unfolding. History was not just happening around her, it was converging. The fighting reached the ridges above the river. There was no ceremony, no clean lines, only smoke, dust, and urgency. Warriors closed in from all sides, riding through gunfire, pressing relentlessly against soldiers who no longer understood the scale of what faced them. The hillside became a storm. Cheyenne memory tells that Buffalo Calf Road Woman rode into this chaos, not as a symbol, not as a legend, but as a woman doing what the moment demanded, that she struck a mounted officer and knocked him from his horse, that the man was George Armstrong Custer. No official record confirms it. No soldier survived to deny it. What remains is memory, and memory carries truths that paper often refuses. The battle ended as abruptly as it began. Gunfire faded, smoke thinned. The ground fell quiet beneath a sky that had witnessed everything without reaction. Horses wandered riderless. The hillside held bodies that would soon be counted and named by others. Every man under Custer's command lay dead. The Little Bighorn had spoken, not in celebration, but in consequence. Buffalo Calf Road Woman returned to her people without ceremony. Her body was exhausted, her spirit remained steady. She did not speak of what she had done. Among her people, there was no need. If you are still here, subscribe, because history rarely tells you what victory truly costs. Those who survived understood immediately what this victory meant. Anger would follow, retaliation would be swift. The full weight of the United States would come down upon the tribes with renewed fury. This moment, however powerful, was temporary. That night, fires burned low across the valley. Voices were quiet. Children slept close to their mothers. The river flowed on indifferent, carrying the day away as even the world seized its meaning. Buffalo Calf Road Woman held her family close, knowing that the hardest days were still ahead. Victory had not ended the war. It had only changed shape. By morning, the story was already changing. Names would be written, paintings would be made, generals would be remembered, and many truths would be left unspoken. Buffalo Calf Road Woman did not know that silence would follow her courage or that it would last for generations. She did not know that others would argue over what had happened while her people quietly carried the truth. She only knew she had survived, and survival, once again, was not the end. The soldiers were gone, but the war had only changed shape. The triumph at the Little Bighorn did not bring relief. It brought pursuit. News of the defeat reached the eastern cities stripped of context and heavy with outrage. Newspapers did not speak of broken treaties or starvation. They spoke of humiliation, of revenge, of restoring control. What had happened in the valley was framed not as consequence, but as insult, and insults demanded punishment. Within weeks, the plains changed again. Soldiers poured west in numbers never seen before. Columns moved relentlessly, crossing summer heat and winter snow without pause. Camps were tracked, lodges were burned, food was destroyed, horses were seized or killed. The war was no longer about battle. It was about erasing the ability to live freely. Buffalo Calf Road Woman felt the shift immediately. Movement became constant, rest became dangerous. The land that had once sheltered her people now betrayed them at every turn. Victory had not freed them, it had marked them. The buffalo were nearly gone. What little remained was taken deliberately. Soldiers destroyed meat caches, winter supplies were burned, starvation became strategy. Slow, quiet, devastating. It required no gunfire, only patience. Families were forced to move again and again, even as exhaustion hollowed them out. Children grew weaker, elders fell behind, winter closed in without mercy. Buffalo Calf Road Woman rode through snow and bitter wind, carrying children whose weight felt alarmingly light. She wrapped them tightly, shielding them from cold and fear alike, even as her own strength thinned. Survival became repetition. Wake, move, endure, repeat. There were no victories left to celebrate, only days to be lived. Eventually, choices disappeared altogether. Some fled north toward Canada, chasing rumors of safety. Others surrendered, unable to continue. Many collapsed somewhere in between, broken by hunger and exhaustion rather than battle. Reservations offered no refuge, only confinement. The land was poor, food was rationed, disease spread quickly among bodies already weakened by years of stress. Freedom was replaced by dependency, enforced by soldiers who believed order mattered more than survival. Buffalo Calf Road Woman did not live long in this new world. Years of strain caught up with her. Illness took hold. In 1877, still young, she died far from the open plains that had shaped her life. There was no monument, no marker that history would record, only grief carried quietly by those who loved her. She left no written words behind, no letters, no recorded testimony, no official acknowledgement of what she had done. History moved forward without her name, filling its pages with officers, strategies, and dates. But among her people, she was not lost. Her story was carried carefully, spoken softly, protected deliberately. The Cheyenne understood what the outside world did to stories like hers, how it reshaped them, claimed them, diminished them. Silence was not forgetting. Silence was resistance. For more than a century, the silence endured. Paintings of the Little Bighorn showed only men. Textbooks preserved generals and tactics. The presence of women, especially one who rode into the heart of battle, was erased entirely. But the Cheyenne remembered. Stories passed from elders to children, from parents to grandparents, not loudly, not publicly, but faithfully. The truth was not meant to convince outsiders. It was meant to survive. Silence, in this way, became resistance of its own. In 2005, the silence finally opened. A Cheyenne elder named Frank Rowland spoke publicly of what his people had always known, that Buffalo Calf Road Woman rode into the chaos at the Little Bighorn and struck George Armstrong Custer from his horse. The reaction was immediate. Historians questioned it, documents were demanded, proof was debated, as if memory itself were on trial. But memory does not answer to archives alone. It answers to those who lived with the truth long before anyone asked for it. If this moment matters to you, subscribe, because history often waits for courage to catch up with the present. Buffalo Calf Road Woman did not conquer an empire. She stood against one. Her life reminds us that history is not shaped only by those whose names are carved into stone. Some of the most powerful moments occur without witnesses, without applause, without written record. The plains are quieter now. The buffalo are nearly gone. Rivers still move through the land, carrying different names. But the wind still crosses the grass, and it remembers. So now, so do we.
If you're ready for more real talk about getting video, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell.